Women never admit this publicly, but every woman, no matter how independent, educated, accomplished, or confident, has been addicted to a man at least once in her life. Not attracted, not interested, not infatuated. Addicted. Helplessly, irrationally, chemically addicted. Before we go deeper, hit subscribe and like the video. This is DepthRealm, where we expose the shadows so you can see the truth. Most people think female obsession is emotional, romantic, sweet, or poetic. They picture diary entries, tear-stained pillows, soft music, and heartbreak quotes. They imagine longing, missing someone, wanting someone. But that's not addiction. Addiction is something darker, something biological, something that hacks the nervous system, something that rewires the brain. Addiction is not wanting him. It's needing him, needing the feeling he gives her, needing the validation she gets from him, needing the chemical storm her body releases when he enters the room, sends a message, touches her hand, or calls her baby. Addiction is slavery wrapped in desire. Most women don't understand how it happens. Most men don't realize the power they can hold. And society refuses to talk about it, because the truth is uncomfortable. Too uncomfortable. Women become addicted to men through a three-phase psychological trap, the same blueprint used in casinos, cults, and drug dependency. And the most dangerous part is this. She never notices it happening until she's already hooked. It always starts with the first phase, the high. Every addiction begins with a euphoric spike. With drugs, it's dopamine. With gambling, it's serotonin and adrenaline. With a man, it's all of that and oxytocin. Oxytocin is the bonding chemical, the trust hormone, the "this person matters to me" signal. It's released through eye contact, touch, attention, intimacy, and the feeling of being chosen. When a man gives a woman consistent attention, especially early on, her brain doesn't experience affection. It experiences acceleration. Every message is a hit. Every compliment is a hit. Every kiss is a hit. Every night together is a hit. She gets high on the version of herself she becomes around him. More feminine, more validated, more secure, more desirable. Addiction isn't about the drug. It's about the feeling the drug creates. And the first high sets the benchmark. Women fall for men who make them feel something rare, something they don't feel with anyone else. A mix of excitement, comfort, attention, desire, safety, and possibility. And once the brain gets that first hit, it begins craving the next. But here's where everything changes. Because no man can keep the high going forever. Not because he's bad, but because he's human. And because the addiction requires the next phase to grow stronger. The high stops being constant. It becomes intermittent. And intermittent reward is the most powerful psychological hook in the world. Casinos use it. TikTok uses it. Slot machines use it. Manipulative partners, intentionally or unintentionally, use it. It's when the reward is unpredictable. Sometimes she gets a long voice note. Sometimes just a K. Sometimes a warm embrace. Sometimes a cold shoulder. Sometimes he initiates everything. Sometimes he disappears. Sometimes he gives her the world. Sometimes he withdraws completely. This is where the addiction forms. Uncertainty is a drug stronger than comfort. Because the brain doesn't release dopamine from the reward, it releases dopamine from the anticipation of the reward. Meaning the less consistent a man becomes, the more obsessed a woman becomes. Her mind starts looping. Did I do something wrong? Is he losing interest? Why hasn't he replied yet? What can I do to win back the version of him I had before? She becomes trapped in her own thoughts, her own insecurities, her own desire to regain the dopamine spike he gave her at the beginning. And the more she chases stability, the more unstable the connection becomes. This is where rationality cracks. This is where self-esteem bends. This is where obsession grows. Now the man becomes the source of both her pleasure and her pain. And when one person controls both, addiction becomes inevitable. Most women don't call it addiction. They call it chemistry, or a deep connection, or soul ties, or I've never felt this way before. But it's not the connection she's addicted to, it's the inconsistency. She can't walk away because her brain remembers the high. And she believes that if she tries hard enough, behaves perfectly enough, loves deeply enough, sacrifices enough, or waits long enough, he'll give her that high again. That's the trap. Addiction is the belief that the next hit is coming, even when it isn't. This leads to phase 3, the crash. The crash happens slowly, quietly, silently, beneath the surface. It's the emotional withdrawal stage. She starts losing herself in the pursuit of him. She compromises her standards. She overlooks red flags. She tolerates disrespect. She apologizes for asking for basic things. She convinces herself she's overreacting. She confuses breadcrumbs for effort. She lowers the bar until the floor is her new ceiling. Her friends notice before she does. Her family notices before she does. Her mirror notices before she does. Her spirit notices before she does. But she keeps holding on, not to him but to the memory of who he was when the addiction began. Eventually, her emotional system collapses. She starts crying without knowing why. She loses appetite. She loses sleep. She loses confidence. She loses identity. Because addiction erodes the self. The more she clings to him, the more she drifts away from herself. Now let me give you real stories. Lena, 27. Strong, smart, ambitious. Swore she'd never chase a man. Then she met Daniel. Charming, confident, focused. He gave her an intensity she'd never felt. Long midnight calls, romantic gestures, deep conversations. He made her feel chosen. Then slowly he started withdrawing. Took longer to reply. Stopped planning dates. Stopped complimenting her. Stopped trying altogether. But once every week, he'd give her a perfect hit. A long message, a passionate night, a warm confession. That was enough to reset her addiction. She spent a year trapped in the loop, refusing to leave the man she barely had. Another case, Ava, 31. Independent, successful, emotionally mature. Thought she was above obsession. But she fell for a man who was hot and cold. A man who praised her in private but ignored her in public. A man who made love to her intensely but acted distant the next morning. A man who told her she was special but treated her like an option. She couldn't break free. Not because he was so amazing, but because her body was hooked on the emotional volatility he created. And here's the brutal truth. Women don't get addicted to good men. Good men are stable, consistent, reliable, predictable. They don't activate the biochemical chaos that produces addiction. They activate safety. And safety doesn't create obsession. It creates comfort. But comfort feels boring to women who are used to chaos. They mistake peace for lack of passion. And they sabotage the men who could actually love them. Not because they want pain, but because pain feels familiar. That's the hidden wound. The wound is the blueprint. The blueprint becomes the pattern. And the pattern creates the addiction. Women become addicted to men who trigger childhood emotional templates. The emotionally unavailable father. The unpredictable mother. The dismissive parent. The chaotic household. The inconsistent love. Women don't become addicted to men who treat them well. They become addicted to men who replicate the emotional instability they were programmed to normalize. This is why women say, "I know he's bad for me, but I can't leave." That sentence is pure addiction. Addiction is when the mind knows something is harmful, but the body refuses to let go. Now let's talk about escalation. Because once the addiction deepens, everything worsens. Her self-worth shrinks. Her standards collapse. Her identity dissolves. Her intuition dies. Every red flag becomes a justification. Every disappointment becomes a rationalization. Every distance becomes something she blames on herself. She starts believing, "If I'm good enough, he'll stop hurting me." But the truth is painful. No amount of goodness can fix emotional instability. No amount of effort can stabilize inconsistency. No amount of love can cure someone who benefits from your dependency. By this stage, her nervous system is dysregulated. She's in fight or flight around the man she wants most. She's anxious when he texts. She's anxious when he doesn't. She's anxious when she's with him. She's anxious when she's not. That's not love. That's addiction. So what happens when she finally wakes up? There's always a breaking moment. Not when he does something terrible, but when she realizes she no longer recognizes the woman she became. When she sees a picture of herself from before him, and she looks happier, brighter, lighter. When she reads old journal entries and sees her former confidence. When she realizes the version of her he created is smaller, weaker, exhausted. That's the awakening. And when it happens, the addiction collapses. She sees the pattern. She sees the truth. She sees the mirror. Here's the final twist, and it's the truth many women don't want to admit. Women don't get addicted to men. They get addicted to the emotional roller coaster men create. Remove the roller coaster and the addiction dies. Remove the unpredictability and the obsession dissolves. Remove the chaos and the fantasy ends. Because addiction isn't about the man, it's about the chemicals he triggers. It's about the void he fills. It's about the wounds he activates. It's about the chaos that feels like love. Women think they want passion. They think they want chemistry. They think they want intensity. But what they actually want is regulation. A partner who doesn't destabilize them. A partner who doesn't rely on their insecurity. A partner who doesn't weaponize inconsistency. Addiction blinds them. Healing frees them. Women become addicted to men when their nervous system mistakes unpredictability for connection. And the day she chooses peace over adrenaline, clarity over chaos, consistency over volatility, she stops confusing addiction for love. And once she learns the difference, she never goes back. See the pattern. Protect your energy. This is DepthRealm.